Hello and welcome to the Easy Allies podcast. I'm your moderator, Brandon Jones. Joining me this week, Brad Ellis.
Xbox on.
Ben Moore.
Xbox on.
So we just turned a couple on. We didn't turn any off though, thank goodness. My jacuzzi-loving co-moderator, Daniel Bloodworth.
I got my Xbox after the Kinect was no longer included.
Nice. And it's a good thing. And making it all happen by starting the Zoom call in Slack, Ian Hink.
Xbox.
Word. Distinguished guests, we are here to discuss some of the biggest headlines in the world of video games. And this was a big week. This was a doozy. We got a lot to talk about. But before we do that, we must answer for all of the mistakes and clarifications that we made and need from last week's episode. Ian, begin corrections music, please.
Boop.
Sega updated Yakuza 7's release date to November 10th for Series X and S, Xbox One. Those things we'll get to. Xbox One, PS4, and PC versions will launch on November 13th. PS5 date will be announced in the coming weeks. It's pronounced Bishoujo, not Bishujo. It may have been misspelled. Wouldn't you know it? How did that happen, Ben, right? These things, I don't know how they happen.
We just smiled at
I
you,
don't remember
Brandon.
that at all.
Moving on, Chris Tales had its release date revealed during the PC Gaming Show back in June, Blood. We've known the release date for Chris Tales for months.
I think they do this once in a while. They'll send out a press release that like just sort of repeats information.
They got him.
And like, oh, there it is.
Wizard from Marvel Comics, who we were trying to figure out was in the Avengers or not, was briefly in Season 2 of Jessica Jones. Magikami is...
What was he up to?
I don't know. I didn't see Jessica Jones. Magikami is, in fact, an anime sex game. You did it, Ian.
Woo!
You guessed correctly.
Whoa.
Yeah. I guess that press release was the PG version of Magikami. So research at your own risk. Ian did the math on 16 out of 239 during the podcast 2 weeks ago. You thought you did, and you did. I stole that from you. The TI moniker on the high-end NVIDIA cards is pronounced TI. Depending on who you ask, most of the people confirmed that in chat. By tech experts and reviewers. I don't know how many of those officially hang out.
TI too, yeah.
There you go. Well, there it is.
I've always heard TI.
Pikmin 3 has been relisted on the Wii U. Lots of comments said that their Wii U's are still plugged in and get regularly used. And Damiani is not on to correct this tonight. The 370 is not going to be 20% stronger than a 280 Ti.
What's skipping the zero in these numbers?
In fact,
what's happening right now?
2080. And then corrections, we did it. And then a bunch of games have different speeds. It's all over the place. It depends on all sorts of variables, none that can be officially decided by that blanket statement that Damiani made, which was in some ways incorrect. And corrections music, please.
Boop.
I want to start with some good news before we jump into the rest of this. We have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about this week. Unexpected news that happened, unexpected even to the people that went on to announce it. But before we get into that stuff, I want a silver lining from our community, from our $5 and above patrons who get this podcast early. Prinny Tonic has a nice one for us, a happy thing that he is excited about that for sure would not get coverage on this podcast otherwise. A new Kiki Kai Kai is in the works and is set to release on the Switch in Japan. The series is known in the West as Pokey and Rocky and had a shoot 'em up on the SNES featuring a Shrine Maiden and Tanuki. Great co-op game.
Isn't that Pocky and Rocky?
Pocky and Rocky. Yeah, let's do that. I think he left out the C in Pocky. It's P-O-K-I-E.
Okay.
Rocky does have the C in there, so yeah, it'd be Pocky and Rocky. All these corrections on the fly. Appreciate it. Good co-op game. Super hard. Also, this new game is made by the OG staff that worked on the SNES game. I looked it up, and the series started in Japanese arcades in 1986. Kind of has a River City Ransom vibe, just the visuals at least.
Cool. That's a good vibe to have.
Fun beat 'em up, super hard.
Yeah.
Good day for beat 'em ups today, which we will get to very shortly. Ubisoft had their second of the year of 2020, Ubisoft Forward. Ubisoft Forward for the month of September. Jeff Keighley asked everyone, the poll is going to go on for another 23 hours, if they thought it got an A, B, C, or D or lower, and D or lower is the winner of that poll so far by Jeff Keighley. So that
I feel like it would always be the winner.
so that
almost
sure.
always.
Yeah.
There's always people that follow Jeff Keighley that want to hate something, but I feel very selfish because I really enjoyed this this presentation because I love a lot of open world stuff, a lot of remakes of games that I enjoy. But we did not have Ben on with us for reactions. Anything stand out for you, Ben? Anything that was predominantly good or bad from their press offerings today?
I am very happy that Scott Pilgrim is coming back. That game is quite a lot of fun. We've played it before together. But there was a lot that kind of bummed me out during this presentation. Bummed me out might be a little bit too strong, but I really like Sands of Time, for instance. I don't feel like the look that they're going for is really speaking to me. I feel like they've kind of taken the style and made it more generic, which I don't really like. I am curious about Gods and Monsters, which is not called Gods and Monsters anymore. I'm curious enough that I do want to give it a try when it comes out. But a lot of this presentation, I think, didn't really excite me necessarily.
There were bad presentations of things that I think are good, but I don't think showed necessarily very well. A quick rundown. We got Immortals Phoenix Rising, which was formerly known as Gods and Monsters. Got a big look at that. Damiani played it. We got a preview up right now. Scott Pilgrim Complete Edition coming this holiday season for its 10th anniversary. Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake, which Ben mentioned. Riders Republic is a new X-Sports game from Ubisoft Annecy, who made Steep. Watch Dogs Legion got an update. Rainbow Six Siege got an update. Hyperscape. And other things to talk about. Brad, any standouts there? Oh, sorry, Ben.
I already know about Watch Dogs Legion. I already intend to play it. I don't really care about Hyperscape. You know, I'm not invested in Rainbow Six Siege, and so a lot of it was kind of updates to things that we already knew about, which is totally fine and expected. But I already forgot the name of it. The extreme sports game that they showed at the end.
Riders Republic.
I didn't get a good sense of what that game was.
A lot of questions.
And that, I think that when I talk about feeling flat, that's definitely something that came out of it, where I just was like, so is this Steep? Is this Steep? It kind of looks like Steep.
It looked like Steep too. When I said Riders Republic, I was like, what?
Yeah, and
Steep with bikes.
I just don't. Yeah. In my opinion, they didn't do a great job of selling it.
Sure, yeah.
My thought on that one was that they took too long to get to the gameplay, to where I'd basically had given up hope on gameplay being there at all. I was like, okay, you're going to start telling me about all this stuff, but we're just looking at the CG trailer again, so I guess there's no gameplay. And then they showed it, and then my brain had a completely different way to contextualize everything. And from the gameplay that I saw, I liked what I saw. I would like to check it out, and I feel like, it seems like there's a lot of big maps, various locations, and some pretty crazy and extreme courses. And then obviously, I think it's probably their star of the show, or, so to speak, with the big multiplayer races. But yeah, it did. I think some of that stuff might have landed differently if they had just changed the order of how they did things a little bit.
My favorite reaction that you guys, because I had our reactions on, and I was editing the occasional bird game show while it was on, but I would stop and watch anytime there was an actual trailer. My favorite reaction, I think it was you, Brad. In the trailer, they all stop, and then it shows a guy look out, but it doesn't show his POV, and then everyone just starts moving again, and you were just like, why'd they all stop? I thought that was really funny. Because, why? It's like weird,
about that game.
Poor filmmaking at the end of that trailer.
And I just actually revisited in 2x speed my Steep review from, I gave that 3 stars back in the Stars era, and Steep had a really interesting exploration system. You would glide around and then actually have to tag something with your binoculars to then be able to go and ski that or snowboard down that. It also had a really interesting replay system, which it kind of seemed like this was doing. There were some slow-mo moments of wipeouts and stuff. Didn't get into any of that, even conceptually. So again, a game I'm probably going to play and I'm looking forward to. It's right up my alley. But you're right, Ben. What they showed today is kind of confusing.
Did it have a date?
February 25th.
February 25th, 2021.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with the exploration, I think it's a fair point. Steep's way of making you find things and tag things, it's an interesting concept, but I always felt like it was sort of confusing to find your way around that map and find what the new thing was, what the next thing was. So I do hope that they've done better about that with this game.
I mean, there's also just the cloud of the many damning allegations that have been levied against Ubisoft kind of hanging over this, and them, like, the tone that they were trying to go for, like, not really coming across. I don't know. There was... I just wish that they could speak honestly and directly, and it felt very shrouded, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to, you know, buy into this hype cycle when it feels like the way that they're choosing to address these things is not especially direct.
Well, and like Eve's was it Eve's? Yeah, his statement before the show just went out on their Twitter and wasn't part of the show. They said they would add it to the VODs if they could, but it's like, that's kind of an odd choice. I mean, maybe they didn't have an editor around to add it to the thing, or didn't want to go live, show that, and then go offline and load the other file or whatever, throw it in a different scene in their XSplit. But like, yeah, kind of maybe should have been part of the actual kit and caboodle, but whatever.
Yeah, I think there's something about their structure of how they put these things together where both times they said we didn't have enough time to do that.
Yeah,
and I'm like, well, what?
Right, that's why it's especially awkward.
Yeah.
Is this is
What
the second
happened?
time?
Get started on the next apology now for the next Ubisoft Forward. Just make a series of them. Just make like 50 apology videos for all sorts of various things.
It was vague, and I mean, I guess he got specific on some stuff, but like some of it was pretty vague. So it's like, they could just throw a vague apology.
It was totally vague. Yeah.
Yeah, they could throw a vague apology in front of the next one, and it wouldn't even have to. They wouldn't even have to know what they had done wrong with these apologies.
Eves has always had such a nice, like, fatherly presence, and he really puts himself out there. He's really been involved in a lot of the press conferences. He wraps them all up. He comes out and, you know, really wants to showcase the staff, and seems like a nice, chipper guy. And he definitely seemed like a little shell-shocked in having to make this presentation, and like his kind of like warmth didn't really work. He was just kind of trying to placate the whole thing and just be like, no, this is definitely something we are, you know, we are making steps to fix. They are donating $1 million to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, which is one of those nice things that comes out of an unfortunate circumstance. You know, like,
it's not
you
nothing,
know, just one of the things that is facing this company. He did in talking with the offense that led them to make that donation. He didn't even mention the name of the game, which I totally forget. Tom Clancy's Elite Squad, I think.
Phone
game. That's it.
Phone game.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem. Is like he's like this mobile game that we have, which you know, and I think that part of the issue, like I think is that he wasn't specific with that incident, and I think the other issue that people had with the earlier statement was that like he talked like, well, we found out about this stuff this summer, and so that feels sort of like, really, like the stuff's been going on for years and you didn't know about that. But I feel like this might be, again, as we've talked about these statements before, like a lot of driven by lawyers and that kind of things. Like, well, you can't acknowledge that people knew about this stuff ahead of time, or else it'll put you in deeper trouble. And
or they're just like, all of these apologies are just saying, like Ellen and this and stuff, they're all just kind of saying like, I'm a shitty boss because I don't pay attention to anything that's happening.
It can be a catch-22.
Yeah.
That's what I think that's where the kindness kind of melted away from me, is that he seemed kind of oblivious. You know, it didn't really seem like something where he was like, truth is coming to light and that's a good thing. He's like, oops, we've had an interesting year.
Yeah, I think to me, like, it's hard because I don't know that with this sort of statement if there's any way to win or to win people over, because I think just sort of like how he was saying that it's going to take time. It's going to take time to like get these solutions in place within their company. In the same boat, it's going to take time for people to feel like they've actually progressed and moved forward, and it's going to be a result of people checking with staff 6 months from now and a year from now and 2 years from now. And even then, there's always going to be somebody with a long memory that will never let them forget what's happened. So,
and I mean, it's better never than late, but better late than never too. And it's like, I guess if they're on board with trying now, if they actually stick to it, that's the real test. Is like all these companies that are like, oh, we're going to do better, we're going to do this. unless it's performative and it's just a band-aid and they're going to donate $1 million to whoever and then just forget about it, it doesn't mean anything. And it's like, yeah.
That's the thing you want, right? And I think that's what's so frustrating is that sense doesn't come across with any sort of confidence that things are going to get better and we're going to be, clear and direct in addressing them. It doesn't feel clear and direct at all. And I think it's hard to buy into that when you do have a statement that is so vague, soft, really, in a lot of ways. I'm not like, yeah, they've got it. It's handled,
Whoa, look at, wow.
Yeah.
Really grabbing this bull by the horns.
Right, exactly, yeah.
When was the last time, I can't think of a time, I'm sure there's an obvious example that I'm just not thinking about, but like, when was the last time something like this like actually destroyed a company? Like, it doesn't seem to happen, Like, everyone's always mad for like 2 months. And then...
Didn't a bunch of people leave Lab Zero recently?
Oh yeah, Lab Zero.
That one.
And
smaller
almost made
companies,
also
it happens
this week,
all the time.
But yeah, the rest of the people have been let go from Lab Zero. Lab Zero, so
I mean,
which
like
is kind of on the way out anyway. But
to a big company.
Oh,
like,
no.
Are they too big to fail? Like, are they too big for any scandal of this nature?
That's kind of where we can move on with the conversation, because it's like they realized the spotlight was going to be on them today. They're not sharing today really with anybody else. Like, we've had a lot of crazy Xbox news this week that we'll get to, but this was Ubisoft's day. They definitely looked forward to it. Scott Pilgrim guys were like winking, like so. There's lots of attention, focused on this. But Ubisoft Forwards feel like states of play now. This seems just kind of like, well, that's us, we're Ubisoft, and that's what we're working on. And so, even though this was kind of a weird day, like, is this where we should set our expectations? Like, we didn't get Valhalla. It's the release date actually got moved up to November 10th, but that was released beforehand. No PS5 news yet. No Far Cry 6. No Beyond Good and Evil 2. No Rainbow Six Quarantine, which a lot of people were very confused by.
I just want to say, and I feel like Huber expressed the sentiment as well. Or at least in the ballpark of the sentiment, that it is kind of hilarious how they're doing everything but announcing a new Splinter Cell. Right? I don't think that's good to go into these things being with unrealistic expectations, but they have all of these Splinter Cell adjacent announcements that are not Splinter Cell, and this is it just keeps happening, but there is no new Splinter Cell.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah.
The joke I made, Ben, is he's trapped in the Ubiverse. He can't. Yeah. You'll go by a billboard in Writers Republic, and he's going to be banging on it, let me out. He just can't. He can't crack out into his own game. Or that's going to be. Did Battletoads have that joke? Where they were they've been stuck in a vault. It's, when he finally gets unleashed, it'll be part of the story of the next game.
I just want to bring up quickly. I was pleased with Immortals: Phoenix Rising, though. We haven't seen that game in a long time.
Yeah.
And they finally showed quite a bit of it, and it's coming out soon, which is very nice to see from a Ubisoft game. I feel like, how long ago did we see Watch Dogs? I know that went through development hell or whatever, but it's nice to see a game for long, actually see the game played. Here it is. It's a couple months. That's a feel-good moment for me.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Brad. I definitely want to try that game out. This is a pretty minor thing, but I just like the name Gods and Monsters more.
Yeah. It stuck with me more. I'll say that. Immortals: Phoenix Rising. It's kind of weird.
Not a great title.
Did you see, Ian, was it you that said they're all three of them are movies? Gods and Monsters is a movie name, Immortals is a movie name, and Phoenix Rising is a movie name. It's they just they just toured their local video store and just took notes.
Yeah. And they're all weird middling movies too.
But you don't. I made the comment in the preview, Brad, that it doesn't happen very often where we hear about a game. Let's check in on that game we haven't heard about, and it's playable. A lot of people have checked it out. It delivers. It's a fun game. Super derivative, but wonderfully so.
Well, yeah, this game I thought we wouldn't see this for another year because they changed the title and they were we're delaying it and stuff. So I thought this was going to be its reintroduction. Wait, see you in 2022 or something, but it's nah, it's soon. What is it, holiday?
Yeah, December.
Yeah.
Skull and Bones developer Ubisoft Singapore said they have a new vision for development. So it could have been that situation where they just come out and are remember Gods and Monsters? We changed the name and we started development all over again. But no, this is clearly something that
this is a rework.
Began development
also,
the day.
That's the third time they've said that about Skull and Bones.
They Skull and Bones is just a nightmare.
They said we have a new idea and we're going back to the drawing board 9 months ago.
It's cursed, but they're sticking to it. But yeah, I'm definitely. I mean, I'm probably not really gonna be able to finish Ghost of Tsushima until the holidays, Brad. And then I'm gonna have Cyberpunk, and I'm gonna have
it's gonna
Phoenix
be
Rising. I'm gonna be open worlds.
Oh, it's gonna be nice for you. Yeah,
it's gonna be open world heaven, baby.
You're gonna have that Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer.
Yeah.
Ooh. So yeah, I think Scott Pilgrim was just happy vibes all around, and I think Immortals was really fun. I think a lot of people were like, oh, "My goodness, is this?" The picking up the rock, I think, was the funniest thing in Immortals. We were just like, it's literally yellow and not blue. That's all you did. It looks exactly the same.
There's shots where, like, riding the horse, I was just like, this is Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
like,
or the climbing from the profile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it ain't broke,
which is like. To Huber's point, I think he said that, or maybe Brad, it was you during the reactions, where it was like, to be fair, I've played like 100 FPSs that look, basically the same, and it's like, if you're gonna steal from the best,
So, I'm excited, man.
I'm not mad about it.
And they are very close, to Nintendo. Like Ubisoft has done a lot of fun partnerships in the past, so they were taking notes when they went over there. They took the Breath of the Wild team out to lunch. Several times.
They're just furiously writing down notes. Like, okay,
photocopy?
Link is just in it.
Yeah.
It just shows up.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Speaking
they're just taking pictures all the time.
Speaking of Nintendo, a announcement happened this week that is getting a lot of buzz. And I did not play the first game, and so I am excited about this, but I want all of you to tell me why this is exciting. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity announced a prequel to Breath of the Wild. Supposedly, by the trailer.
I want Ben to go first because he's the Musou master here, but I will have a take after.
Master might be overdoing it, but I do like Musou games. I really like Hyrule Warriors, and I think Hyrule Warriors is kind of easy to write off at a glance as just like, oh, it's just this, but with a Zelda skin. And I think they took enough inspirations from the series itself to really make it stand out in its own genre. And it had a lot of flair, and it was just fun. As a fan of the universe, it was fun doing it in a different way that felt, reasonably respectful to the source that it was coming from. And I think what's so awesome about this announcement is they could have just done Hyrule Warriors 2, and that would have been reasonably exciting, right? Like, I think they built up enough respect with the first game that they could do a by the numbers sequel, and that would be fine. But they're not doing that. They're really taking this opportunity to set it in a meaningful time period, and that's way more interesting. Like, I don't know if it's going to be good. I don't know if it's going to be handled
That's
well.
what's good about it, Ben.
But
Is they're actually tying it into the story.
Yes.
And they're telling the most interesting part of Breath of the Wild's story to me, honestly. Like, this whole event that went down, it looks like Breath of the Wild. It doesn't look visually like the past Hyrule Warriors.
Right.
It looks way more story focused than I expected.
And that is a problem with games like Hyrule Warriors, like Fire Emblem Warriors, is the stories don't really have a ton of weight to them, right? Like in Hyrule Warriors, I didn't care about the villain, or I wasn't there because I thought it had an amazing story, right? But this is saying, like, no, this is going to expand upon specifically stuff that you're already attached to, illuminate something that you already know about, and that's just way better.
Dude, I look at it as bonus prequel DLC. That's how I see it.
Very exciting.
Yeah, I echo a lot of the same thoughts. I really feel like, I haven't played that many Musou games in the past because I just really didn't get that into the style. And then even stuff like when they do the licensed properties like Hyrule Warriors, it just feels like kind of a fan servicey type of thing. It's like, we're just gonna throw all these characters in here and look, Linkle, and it's just like it's just this mashup of, take characters that you don't expect and beat a bunch of guys with them, and it just doesn't feel like there's a whole lot more to it than that. I do know that there is some strategic elements to how you go about conquering
I want
those
to come
maps.
to the defense of that though, because sometimes you just want that, it doesn't. Sometimes that's okay. I just want that, I guess.
Oh yeah,
but I feel like with this and Persona 5 Scramble, I feel like there's just so much more focus. Like, no, we're not gonna just give you every random Zelda character. We're gonna give you these specific characters because they're meaningful to this plot line. And you wanted to play as these characters. You wanted to play as Zelda. You wanted to play as the champions. And so now we're going to do that in a way that actually, makes it work. And yeah, as Onuma said, it's like, hey, we're gonna have hordes of monsters. Why not just have the Koei Tecmo team do it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, the thing I'm surprised about is that they're like giving over the reins of the Zelda story to a different team in a way that will potentially have impact on the actual lore stuff.
Well, it sounds like the Zelda team is still working on the story elements.
Yeah, I think they're overseeing it.
And so that's what I'm excited about, because it's like, yeah, then it can actually be meaningful backstory to these events you just kind of hear about in Breath of the Wild. I think it could be really fun. Yeah, and like Brad said, it looks just like it.
I have, Ian, to your point, I think they've kind of like loosened the leash on Zelda in like a very measured way, where you have something like Hyrule Warriors, right, which is kind of more of a fan servicey kind of light thing, and then you give it to a smaller team with Cadence of Hyrule, and now it's like, oh, you have a sequel to Hyrule Warriors that has more significant lore implications, and it's just like, I don't know, as somebody who adores Zelda in my soul, it's like they're making it interesting, and they're kind of expand upon it in a way that feels careful, right?
Yep.
It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't make you mad, and that's great. I wish every property could be handled that way.
It's I have to wonder, and maybe this is a stretch, but I have to wonder, bringing it back around to Ubisoft, is like, I wonder how much responsibility for Nintendo's willingness to take chances like this Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle has, because like that game actually working, which none of us thought, that game was a joke. None of us thought
Right.
there was any chance in hell that thing would be good, and it was phenomenal. And I wonder if that happening really kind of opened their eyes to being like, hey, all right, we can loosen the leash a little on some of this stuff.
Well, I'll take the other side of that argument. I'm a little nervous that Brad, that this is not going to satisfy you. That you're going to be like, oh, okay. There's a lot of cutscenes, but we don't. There'll be like a speech from the king,
I
and you're like,
know.
all right, like that didn't
Well,
really.
Jones, from what I've seen, it does dive into some of the stuff. Like, what I'm excited to see, Jones, is the events happen. I'm excited to see more of the Guardians actually fight, because you don't really get any of that in the main game. You get told about a lot of this stuff, but everything just happens in the past. Now I'm actually getting a chance, Jones, to see it, even if it's not like 10 out of 10 amazing story.
Mm-hmm.
I think just having a little extra will go a long way.
Yeah, Brandon, I think that is totally reasonable to be skeptical of the quality of the storytelling, but to Brad's point, I think one of the most frustrating aspects about Breath of the Wild is that the characters that you're going to be playing as in this game, they don't dive into them as much as you would like. And so, just the chance to actually hear more of their story, because you know that the groundwork is already there and you already like them, I think takes care of a lot of the work already.
But I mean, all that said, like I would be shocked if anything like truly earth-shattering comes out of this narrative. Like, I don't think it'll be anything we don't already know.
I don't think it'll be like crazy, like body's gonna show up or some shit in it. I mean, like that's gonna happen.
Right.
It'd be cool.
It's
though.
all gonna be stuff we.
I love when
heard
like
already.
Morpheus died in the Matrix Online, and people are like, "Wait, seriously?" And they're like, "Yeah, but it's lore." It's like Fishburne's not in the next Matrix, man. And, it's like, wait a minute, like, should I have played that game?
I was gonna play that, Jones. Spoilers.
It's a big deal when it happened.
One of the things I'm really the most curious about is just like what the maps will be like, and what they're gonna take out of that world, and like how they're gonna build up, because we just saw everything in ruins. We just saw everything like mowed over. I remember there's this one like town that's kind of partially underwater now, and that sort of thing. And so it would just be really cool to see some of these areas look like they have life, even if they're like just in the background and you're defending them from getting invaded and that kind of thing.
Dude, you know what would be sick is if like they have such an attention to detail that during like the final battle, when all the Guardian robots are in that the Hyrule field, if during the battle, if you're paying attention, the robots go down and die in the exact same places that there are ruins in Breath of the Wild. That would be so cool. And like they don't draw attention to it. People just notice it later.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fun.
There are people already drawing comparisons between the gameplay we've seen, the environments it looks like it's taking place in.
Very cool.
So yeah, it's a good week for Breath of the Wild fans. You know, they got Breath of the Wild Gaiden and like Breath of the Wild 1.2. So it's like, okay, I'm not getting Breath of the Wild 2 this year, but maybe I'll play Immortals and, run through this game.
Yeah, it's really awesome that we've been able to play Persona 5 Scramble, and that has gotten an official Western release because the demo is so promising, and it's been a while since it came out in Japan, so it's really cool that we have.
How would you compare the announcement of that to this Musou? Was this the jolliest Musou announcement of all time? This just really took me by surprise that, where people were like, yes, not only do I want to see these characters, but like that's just a great idea for an addition to the franchise.
It was the most stoked I've been, just because it surprised me how story focused it seemed like, and to be following in Breath of the Wild's footsteps. Because Zelda's not very common for sequels and like that, and following a single story. So I was surprised to see they're doing this.
I am very curious to see if there will be any sort of crossover and what the crossover was like for something like the original Hyrule Warriors. If playing this, people are like, oh, I'm now interested in Dynasty Warriors or Warriors Orochi or things that aren't Zelda, basically. I wonder what the crossover is like, or if people are primarily there for the Zelda.
I think there'll definitely be people that go back and play the first Hyrule Warriors that didn't.
For sure. Yeah. But you can also
Daniel Schwartz on Patreon wants to know. Sorry, Ben?
I was just saying you can play Hyrule Warriors on Switch.
Nice. Daniel Schwartz on Patreon wants to know, are there any other franchises, gaming or otherwise, that you would want to see adapted into a Musou game? Star Wars. I would like to know your answers as well.
Final Fantasy's a good one,
Final Fantasy. I feel like we've answered this, which is totally fine.
I think it's been on the Q&A.
Yeah, I think it's been on the Q&A. But that's okay. A lot of people don't listen to that.
Silent Hill.
What?
Doom.
Oh no, I can't agree with that one.
But you're like really slow. Like from my experience with Musou's, characters usually move a little faster than they normally do because you gotta make ground. You're like, I gotta get over to that hill.
Like
everyone's just dragging their feet.
Yeah.
Book of Memories is pretty much already there.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, obviously not that.
And now, oh sorry, do you got one? You got another one?
Do I have another one?
I'm sure you do.
I'm sure I do.
I kind of don't want it,
down.
but it almost feels like it would be inevitable. It would be like Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of
Helm's
surprised
Deep.
that there isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Battle for Middle-earth 3, man. Make it happen. And now...
Vermintide.
Vermintide 4. A word from our sponsors. If you are like me, you don't like preparing food at all, ever, anytime, forget about it, non-starter. Which is why I love using Postmates, but I kind of love them even more right now because I can get food delivered without leaving the house or even opening the door. Given what's going on in the world, they created non-contact delivery. So now when I order from local restaurants, everything gets left right outside my door. They also have Postmates Pickup, which I've been using to order takeout from my favorite local restaurants. You guys need to be supporting your neighborhood spots right now. I've only been ordering local because it's a great way to support my community. We are just sold my house. I mean, actually, as officially tomorrow, I will not own my house anymore. And so we're going to celebrate by not cooking. And it's, yes. So excited. No dishes, just greasy, tasty food. And Postmates doesn't just deliver burgers and sushi. They actually make your life easier by picking up everything you need from Walgreens and 7-Eleven and dropping it off outside your door. Just download Postmates on iOS or Android, find your favorites, and get anything you want delivered within the hour. One of my favorite prizes, so to speak, that we have gotten from sponsors. I love this. For a limited time, Postmates is giving our listeners $100 of free delivery credit for your first 7 days. To start your free deliveries, download the app and use code EasyAllies, all one word. That's code EasyAllies for $100 of free delivery credit for your first 7 days when you download the Postmates app. Anything you need, anytime you need it, Postmate it. Here's the cold, hard truth, guys. Your skin has needs, and if you want it to look as good as possible, for as long as possible, you need to address it now. We get it, you might not know where to start, but there's a company that's taking the guesswork out of it for you, Lumen. I certainly don't know where to start. Before Lumen gave me this wonderful charcoal madness that I put on my face. Any sort of soap I had was from Amanda. Amanda would just put it down in front of the sink. I'd be like, cool, great, I'll just use that. Then like I came in the house, ha ha ha! I've got my own awesome facial care regimen now. Lumen is on a mission to help give men the amazing skin they deserve through high-quality, expert-created products delivered right to your door. All of their products are formulated specifically for men's skin and made to target skin issues with maximum efficacy using top-notch ingredients like charcoal, green tea extract, and vitamin C. It's not just about looking good, it's about feeling good. You need good skin health, especially as you get older, to prevent long-term damage. Feeling good sounds like something we could all get a little bit more of nowadays. Even if you have no idea where to begin, Lumen makes it so easy to find the right skin management system for you. I keep forgetting that they did this, but when they reached out to me initially before I got this stuff, they had a bunch of questions for me. And so they said, again, it's just nice getting something in the mail. They're like, use that. And I'm like, great. No questions from me. Choose from different skin concerns to address, or just pick up a simple starter pack for free. You deserve to look and feel your best, and here's where you start. Go to lumenskin.com/allies to get a 1-month free trial of everything you need to start your skincare journey at home. That's lumenskin.com/allies to get your first month free. lumenskin.com/allies. And if you are a patron of Easy Allies, thank you. I think it is safe to say that this was the scariest but best week of the year for Xbox. I think right now, Thursday night, what's the date? The 10th. I think they're okay. I think Xbox is doing all right. I think they actually came out this week smelling like a rose. But man, I have 3 separate headlines to go through that are all Xbox related, that all have a very crazy timeline. But starting, of course, with the Xbox Series S, which kicked all of this stuff off, leaked and announced. Ben, what's this thing look like?
Looks like a speaker.
Yeah.
A big one?
Yeah.
Like a big speaker? You go to a concert, right? You see all the speakers lined up?
Like a cute little speaker.
Ironically, I saw some old Sony speakers that are almost identical to this thing.
And I think somebody found an old Sony. I don't know if it was a speaker too or like a computer or something, but it looked like the Xbox Series X.
Oh,
So I saw somebody just like use like a DJ Hero thing and put it up on its side.
It's been memed. Xbox actually leaned into the memes, which was very interesting to see Xbox
smart.
do. This was a trial. I'm always fascinated. I'd love to like intern literally just at people who manage these Twitter accounts, just to see like the hurdles that they have to go through, the approval processes. But of course, this Series S was the Lockhart. This was the lower powered, lower demanding. Launches on November 10th for $299, no disk drive, 60% smaller than the Series X, the smallest Xbox ever. I don't know a lot about tech specs and comparing hardware. I love marketing drama. That's what I am going to focus on. So I'll pass this on to Daniel Bloodworth to let us know describe to me the guts of the sucker. What is the Series S?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think just in general, before I go down the list of all the stuff, what's important is that it has the features that will make next gen. It just has them at lower specs. So it has that super fast hard drive. It has, or not hard drive, solid state drive. Somebody corrected me on that earlier this week. You only call it a hard drive if it's a magnetic spinning disk. But yeah, and it has a very similar GPU, and then it can do 1440p, 60 frames per second, but it could also upscale to 4K. And so, like, it's just got basically the things that matter. And the CPU is very close. So yeah, so like, I'll go down to tech specs now. So like, 8-core AMD Zen 2 CPU, 3.6 gigahertz, 3.4 gigahertz with SMT enabled, which is interesting. It's a similar thing on the Series X, where that one's 3.8 gigahertz and then 3.6 with SMT enabled.
12 cores though, right?
That's the CPU, 8-core, same amount of cores.
They're both 8-core?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And then they're both AMD RDNA 2 GPUs. The Series X has 52 compute units at 1.825 gigahertz. The Series S only has less than half that, 20 at 1.5. The GPU power is 12 teraflops on the Series X, but only 4 on the Series S. And then the RAM is another big differentiator. GDDR6 on both, 16 gigabytes on the X, 10 on the S, and then there's a split with the speed. So like the X has 10 gigabytes at 560, 6 gigabytes at 336, whereas the S has 8 gigabytes at 224, 2 gigabytes at 56. And then the hard drive, yeah, and this is I just did it again. The SSD is the same specs, it's just lower capacity. So it's half a terabyte rather than a full terabyte.
Right.
But that's the only thing that really gives me pause.
Yeah.
Is the half terabyte of storage space, just because as somebody who is all digital pretty much already, I burn through hard drive space so quickly, and I think it's 512, right? Gigabytes?
Yeah. And probably what?
That's
80
tight.
of that is going to be the OS?
Yeah, so that's the only thing where I'm like, I wish that was more, but I think this is a phenomenal move on Microsoft's part. Like, it's the right price. I think it makes the idea of buying into next gen very palatable, and what you're getting for the price seems reasonable to me. And it just seems like an incredibly smart move overall.
Yeah, we're waiting to hear the volley back from Sony on when the PS5's coming out, what it's going to cost. Are there other models of it? We're not anticipating it, but who knows? Like, that's what Microsoft's up to. Without having that information,
we have 2 on PlayStation already, so I don't think they would do more.
Right.
But the PlayStation models, unlike these, are identical besides the disk drive, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So
As
they're
far as
both.
we know,
That was the first thing that I was confused about. I was like, because they just showed it in the leak or whatever, or at least the first thing I saw, where it was way smaller, and I was like, so is it different, or is it just diskless, and why is that disk drive so huge? And now this makes more sense that it's. But yeah, I mean, it's easy to have your first knee-jerk reaction be like, it's not 4K, like it's gonna suck or whatever, but. Yeah, with DLSS upscaling, if it could do that or some equivalent of that, it won't really be as noticeable as I think maybe most people would think. And I mean, I know this is for PCs, but there was that Piscatella, I think we're going to talk about it later, but said that only like 2% of gamers are 4K right now
on Steam.
On Steam.
Yeah, Steam users.
I mean, obviously it's easier to achieve with a TV, and so it's more relevant with a console, but like I still wonder what the adoption rate of 4K TVs actually is. Like, I don't know how high that is.
I think at this point it's probably moving up there quite a bit, because
probably a lot more.
If you have to buy a new TV, it's probably just going to be 4K, even if it's garbage 4K.
Yeah, they're a lot cheaper now too than they used to be.
I'd love to see just the garbage 4K, like a sticker that would be on the front of games. Oh, it's got garbage 4K.
Oh, good.
I don't think
Gameplay's
it's
good, though.
a wrong assumption to say that a lot of people don't care about 4K. I'm not saying that you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
sure.
I don't have 4K
A
yet.
lot of people don't care
Me
really
either.
yet.
I'm probably going to get it for the next gen, but I don't
Ben,
have it yet.
I'll take it a step further, Ben. We can compare Xbox Series S to the Series X all day till we're blue in the face. When we get that information and the final specs and the PS5, we can compare that. This thing's $300. Or like mobs of people just going to buy it because done, period. Literally. Like, I went into a store, I want to buy this for myself or somebody else. I don't want to think about it all day. Holy cow, that thing is as much as the old console I bought. I'll take it,
Brandon,
it clears the bar for next gen. I'm in next gen. I did it. I made it.
You're seeing, like, not just people that wouldn't be in at $500 or $600 if that was their only option, but you're seeing people being like, well, I might as well get both the Series X and the Series S.
That I haven't seen.
Yeah, there are absolutely people that are saying they're in for both. So.
But one thing, to take it a step further, back to Ian's earlier point, a few months back, they are pushing their all access program. It's going out to more countries.
Oh, yeah.
They're really putting it forward, because when Ian made that proposition, it existed, just we weren't aware of it because they weren't really marketing that heavily towards the core gamers. Now that next gen is coming, it's like right up front, they're like, hey, you can get this machine for $25 a month. If you want the X, you can get that for $35 a month.
And you get Game Pass.
And you get Game Pass.
Yeah, crazy.
That was a big part of that trailer, is that Game Pass ad.
It doesn't stop, man. We did that bit, for Mandatory Update, Ian, and it's like we didn't scratch the surface, man. It's just not. I legit was like, this is a good bit. It's not gonna be funny in a year. They're gonna, How far are they
They're
really going
great
to take
plays,
this?
man. It's
Yeah.
a great play. Microsoft is being so smart with
If
this.
you're Microsoft, do you make more X's or S's?
I don't know how they figured that
Yeah.
out.
Neither do I. Or if it's really like a concern. If
What
it
is
would just
that
be
demand
50-50
gonna be
down
like?
the road. But
Especially if
yeah.
you can just pay $10 more a month.
Right.
Yeah.
To
With
get
the
rid of
with
X.
the with the payment plan, yeah, it's like
because I wonder if
why
we'll
not?
see like X doing well and people excited about X, and obviously like people reviewing stuff on X and you know coverage and streaming a lot on X, but threes are just like they're gone. They're like the Switch. Like you can't. Threes are just sold out everywhere because it's
mean
the one
S's?
that most people. Or sorry,
Yeah.
S is the S is kind of like
Threes.
threes.
One thing I just realized. Remember, was it last week when we talked about Pokemon Masters? Mm-hmm. And
Well,
it
we
was
talked about Pokemon Master Sex.
Yes,
Yes.
that's a different
Pokemon.
thing.
So when they put it in the trailer and in the graphics,
In Magic
they
Candy, we
put
had fun
X,
last week.
then they put the S. They didn't do it the other way around.
Right. Smart. But yeah, I mean, and we'll get into some of these payment things also because there are lots of other announcements from Microsoft. But what kicked all this off? So here's where it starts to get interesting for me, for yours truly. The price and date leaked at 7:04 p.m. on September 7th from a tweet from who? Who else? Brad Sams.
That's right.
Yep. Leaked it. He's the executive editor of the BWW Media Group, which currently has 56 followers on Twitter. So 56,
Still?
you know,
Big scoop.
which is a small group, but still 56. Still technically counts for a group there.
But he got it on the internet.
He got it on the internet, and he just apparently he's what is known as an Xbox insider in the world of social media. Xbox freaked out after posting a very funny tweet of a puppet. At
The puppet going
12:13,
like,
12:13 a.m.
that.
on Tuesday, that night, they Xbox tweeted, "Let's make it official," and they officially announced it. Before we get to what Xbox did, this Brad Sams is just fascinating to me. So he's got 56 followers on Twitter for his company. Currently has just over 30K subs on YouTube, the channel he posted the video on where he explained all of this new information before anybody else. And the leaked video only got 268,000 views. This story was taken away from him so fast, Wario64 didn't even tag the guy in his tweet when he said it later. Did Brad Sams get a win or a loss on this?
Oh, he got a win. I never heard of this guy.
I never heard of him, so
We're
I'd say it's
talking
a win.
about him, but not a huge
Not as
win.
yeah,
A
not as
transient
big as a
win.
win as it could have been.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised because a lot of, and I saw one
He got
sentiment that
gifted
like,
out by Twitter.
I wanted to snark on social media so bad, but I saw somebody said later when they had, I don't know if it was Brad or someone else, they had the whole video, like the actual release video of the S.
It was somebody else, yeah.
And they were like, well, I guess there's no point in holding this on. It's like, unlike the people that actually made the video wanting to show it, but otherwise, please do show it. You know, like
Screw those
like,
guys, John.
I guess I can't think of a reason why I wouldn't just drop this
But it was
video.
clearly
that I
an
found.
old video because when they put out the new one, because the leaked one didn't have the date, it just said like November.
Correct.
And then the real one had November 10th. It had some other details thrown in there too.
Well, and because of the controllers, like a month ago, we already knew November 6th-ish, because those
Yeah.
controller
Don't
boxes
display,
said,
yeah.
don't display until November 6th. Yeah.
So we have the Series S. It's crazy looking. Everybody's making memes. Say Anything's my favorite, where he's
Just
holding up
it?
the Series
That's
S.
funny.
But of course, it's the question on everybody's mind. What about the X, baby? We got, okay. So now the rumors are also haven't been confirmed yet by Microsoft that if we got, the S for $299, we're going to get the X for $499, and we're going to get all our dreams are going to come true with this thing. All the specs that Blood compared didn't have it at the time. On Wednesday, Microsoft confirms Series X $499 would launch on November 10th as well. So now we have the launch date for both of those things. They tweeted out, this is the tweet at 6:02 a.m. and announced that pre-orders would go live on September 22nd. So overall, yeah, I think they handled this with a lot of grace. I think they allowed it to laugh at themselves. A lot of people compared it to what Sony did this gen that was different from PS3. They were very cocky. They had a lot of weird inventions that they were trying to push, and a lot of weird exclusives like Lair and stuff that just did not go well. And then they kind of like, got humble, and then the PS4 era, learned to laugh a little bit. And I think that's what we saw Microsoft do this week. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's funny to me because I think seeing like Phil Spencer in there and everything, like just being like, hey, we're gonna announce this later, but here it is. Things
It's supposed to be
happen.
next week, but whatever.
Yeah.
But in terms of the price, yeah, that was my point. That I totally slipped my mind for some reason. I think it's funny because I think everyone was getting so nervous that these prices were taking so long to come out that they were going to be higher than ever. That we were going to see $600 again, which we haven't seen since the PS3, and now $500, which basically cost Xbox last generation by being $500 while PS4 is $400, is now seen as a relief. Everyone's like, thank goodness it's only $500.
Maybe that was their whole play, man. Maybe that was a strategy.
You've got not only like them taking a long time to announce the price, but you also have all these reports coming out that games are going up in price, right? And so when you have that narrative going, like of course you're going to think like, oh, you know, there's reason to worry, I guess is all I'm trying to say.
Which, like, Microsoft kind of, like, if game prices go up, that's great for Microsoft, too, because then more people might just subscribe to Game Pass.
Yeah, maybe.
It's just like, they can't go wrong. And, like, I have Game Pass. I mean, I accidentally have Game Pass Ultimate for the Xbox as well, because I got it to play Sea of Thieves while I was over at Sophia's house. But, like, I basically, my PC is like a Xbox XXX, you know, like, because I've got Game Pass PC on it, and so it's just like I feel like I'm part of the Xbox family, next gen Xbox family ecosystem, and I don't even have to buy a damn Xbox.
Yeah,
and it's fantastic. But they've won the like the Game Pass is Microsoft is just a huge victory for Microsoft.
Yeah,
I mean it's smart because they don't have those killer apps like Sony really has. So I think they took a very different approach. I was super skeptical about this approach. I'm like, how are you going to make money kind of thing?
Yeah.
But it seems to be working for them, so good on them.
Well, you're totally right. I mean, like, Sony, the PS5, like, probably will win the console war, whatever. But, like, Microsoft isn't playing the console war anymore.
Referring to units sold, you know,
right.
Like they can make, we can run the numbers on what, you know, the Game Pass makes them and what it gets for just PC people when they're not technically, you know, shipping those consoles or shipping those systems or cards or whatever. But Sony will have more like exclusives that probably maybe more people care about, and like I assume my guess is that PS5 will sell better on the, you know, life cycle total, but yeah, like Microsoft has like an infrastructure that Sony doesn't, and they're going to make more money, maybe, through that. If you're Sony right now, do you freak out? Are you in a rush, or you just let Microsoft have their moment? And you're like, we'll be back. We'll come out in a week or two, and then we'll blow our stuff up. And
I don't think they need to like full blown panic yet.
Yeah.
I'm saying this from their perspective, but it's like I don't know if I'd be freaking out if you can just kind of, you know, open up your Rolodex and go, well, yeah, look forward to playing Horizon Dawn Zero 2.
Yeah.
Spider-Man. Demon Souls.
Demon Souls. It's like we still have games that people want to play, and I think as long as you're in that position, I don't know that you're necessarily
like Ratchet and Clank, and it's like
Ratchet and Clank, I mean, you can just keep going, right?
It hurts that I think Halo's next year. That could have like really helped.
But it's like good. Delay Halo.
I think they're doing I think that's the smart move. But I think they're doing the best they can with what they got.
But yeah, Sony comes out the gate and just goes like, oh, and here's a God of War 2 trailer, and like they win. Like,
yeah,
in a traditional sense.
But it's the non-traditional thing that is interesting, right? Like compare how we were talking about Microsoft a month ago with the 1-2 punch of, boy, Halo Infinite looks really underwhelming, and they're delaying it. What are we going to be playing on our new Xboxes? And now they have all this momentum, and people are excited, and you know they're jazzed about the price. They like the options. They like Game Pass. Like it's just it's a completely different.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how people are like right now at least aren't like, well, what am I going to play on it? In that kind of mode, thinking about it, they're just stoked about the price of it.
They're just stoked. Yeah, but then I do anticipate, you know, in a couple of weeks, people are going to remember like there's not much to play on it.
Well, and like, to a degree, but then you think about Game Pass, right? And that's
that's what I was going to say. Is like as a Game Pass engine, there's hundreds of games to play on it. It's just none of them are new, hot, new, sexy exclusives, you know, or not many.
Yeah,
it amuses me the Xbox Game Pass title montage that shows up in lots of press conferences and commercials and trailers and stuff like that. It's interesting how my opinion of Game Pass rises and falls depending on the context of when I'm seeing these games. You know, if they're like really trying to push the X and they're like, man, this is, you wait till you see next gen. And then it's like that Forza game that came out a year ago. And this, you're like, okay, wait, you see Thieves. And it's like, yes, but you know, what are these new releases going to be? When you tell me I can give Microsoft $25, and for that first month, I have a Series S and access to 100 plus games. That montage just looking a lot better.
And, and compare that
more of a value there for sure.
Compare that to usually how the first month of owning a new console feels, right? Like there might be 1 or 2 games that you're really excited about, but then otherwise you're like, do I want to spend $60 or now, you know, $70 potentially on something that just looks okay, right? Like it feels like, especially at console launch, you have to fork over a lot of money to be underwhelmed.
Well, and then day 4 or 5 or 6, you're done with the game that came out. And
do you want to spend $60 on Godfall?
No,
dude, people spent $60 on Knack, man.
Yeah.
Don't
hey,
doubt
Knack's
people with new hardware.
Whoa, Knack's a whole different situation. We're not. Don't you give me Godfall energy when we're talking about Knack. I'm sorry, Ben. Continue.
Okay.
Ben, you were finishing your point. Sorry.
No, now Brad, you're right. You're right.
People are excited about new hardware, so they'll buy games.
Right.
But I think the idea of having Game Pass and having so much, and if you don't like something, just being able to move on, it feels, at least conceptually, like it kind of staves away that
also like
console problem.
Don't underestimate the power of Cyberpunk. Like if I don't remember when they said that the next gen upres patch would be out, if that was right.
I don't think they have said.
I don't think they've said yet, but even playing it, if possible, without that new patch, like I bought a 2080, you know, obviously for my job, but like Cyberpunk was in my thought process as well, and now the 3080, I'm like gonna snap that up, even though it's like way overkill for everything, and it's like Cyberpunk is no small factor in that, you know.
Every ally that has talked about upgrading their PC, like eventually when you get down to the bottom of it, it's like, yeah, it's Cyberpunk.
Yeah, Cyberpunk.
Because that's like the tech showpiece we got right now that we could think of.
Well, and man, speaking of Cyberpunk at next gen, it's like, forget like getting through the console launch woes. It's like Cyberpunk looks like it could potentially keep you occupied for the next
for a long time.
Yeah.
Phil Spencer tweeted, and I quote, "I know it's been a wait for pre-order date. Thanks to the community for their support and encouragement. Smiley face. Great to see the reactions. Really proud of how the team handled their support. The unscripted announce supposed to be next week, but oh well."
Why did you turn Phil Spencer into George Bush?
Yeah, I was like, what is he, George Bush now? You used to have a spot-on Phil Spencer.
You didn't like it? I'm rusty. It's been a while. We did multiple takes, Ian. We did multiple takes.
Yeah, we had to direct out the Bush.
Next week, Brandon K. Gann on Patreon wants to know, what about Xbox wanting to have next week be the time to announce their next-gen plan makes sense? What's next week? What's like after PAX, before TGS?
It's during PAX.
Yeah. During PAX?
PAX starts Saturday. So we don't know when next week they were planning.
PAX goes for a good while, though. PAX is like all week or something.
Is that
it is a super long PAX. That's right. It's like a week and a half.
I wonder if, and I don't know if it even matters, but it's the week before TGS, but I doubt they'll really have a presence there.
They actually are. They've said that, but it's all going to be in Japanese and directed at the Japanese audience. So.
Oh, okay. Hey.
Yeah.
They've
Blue
been
Dragon
after that
too.
Bigger foothold over there for a while.
Yeah. That's what's interesting to me is like I don't know that any of this is going to matter to Japan, but right. I do think that I'm curious whether we'll ever hear about them increasing some market share in some form in Europe with PC Game Pass. There's a lot of PC players in Europe that just don't even care about consoles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that's a good way for them to really start getting those franchises and just subscription sales.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Game Pass on PC is only $5.
Not for long.
Oh no.
Yeah, they're upping it.
October goes to 10.
It has said beta. It goes to
The
10.
beta is
Still
ending,
cheaper.
yes. Yeah.
Because you get free online multiplayer on
Yeah.
PC.
You know who? You know what the people in the UK like? You know what those British folks like? They like that FIFA.
They do.
Oh.
They like that football. You know who owns that FIFA? Electronic Arts.
I was gonna say not
yeah.
Microsoft.
No, but recently announced EA Play is merging with Xbox Game Pass. If you get Xbox Game Pass, PC Game Pass, and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you now get or will get soon EA Play at no extra cost. So all of that silly stuff. Again, it's the same thing with the montage. You flashed me an EA Play montage. I'm just like, eh. But if it's a part of Game Pass, EA Play is typically $5 a month. You just get it, combined with everything else, all the different plans that we talked about.
That's actually pretty awesome.
It's insane.
Yeah,
What a
that's
week!
pretty cool.
What a week!
And
for
that does
for
feel,
these systems for this company.
You put it into context. That does indicate to me that maybe Europe is part of the plan in a bigger way.
Oh, sure,
FIFA and
yeah.
all that stuff. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
Need for
I was
Speed.
just like,
Usually
Star
Sony
Wars.
land.
Hey,
Mass
Europe,
Effect.
you're part of the plan.
You're part of the plan.
Brad, EA wasn't on Steam for a while. Now they're on Steam. Now that they're team playing up with Microsoft, not something EA is known to do. They like to have their own events. They like to have their own services, their own accounts. We just recently had 4 looks at EA games that I thought were fairly cool. There's a new EA Star Wars game coming out soon. Like, can I be excited about EA? Is that something where can I be like grateful? Are these are new emotions that I'm having with EA?
I think, Jones, you're allowed to feel however you want to feel about it.
okay.
You can be excited if you want. That's okay, dude. All right. Like me, I'm always a little reserved. Always, guard up. I get a little excited, but they've been around a long time. We know what they've done. It's okay. But, just be like, do your research, I would say.
I know what you
some
did
stuff out.
last
We know
generation.
what you've done.
Yeah.
We know what you've done, EA. We've seen your loot box scandals.
But yeah, this seems like a value proposition that it's like from EA, a value proposition. And I don't mean to run the the joke into the ground with this company. It just surprised at all of the moves from both of these parties that happened this week.
I don't know, man. I think that's smart. They're just filling when I just think of Xbox and their giant gaping hole of they're both sinking. The hole is exclusive games from first party that you're excited with. They're just plugging up with a bunch of cool little other things.
Yeah.
They're just taking a different approach.
I wonder if EA Play goes away. Because I'm trying to think
That's a good question, Ian.
They
'Cause
still
if-
want their own
if you get it
subscribers.
for
The people just want
free-
that. Yeah.
yeah.
I
but
wonder
if
how
you-
many there are, though.
EA Play also includes the early access to certain games.
I wonder.
Yeah.
I was wondering
Yeah,
if Game
you get-
Pass would have that too.
You get Spotify Premium. You get something else, I can't remember.
Get
Discord
Anthem,
Premium
Anthem
or whatever it's
early.
called. So yeah, as I said, I think there's exciting things happening for EA, on the horizon. So I just imagine people getting into Game Pass, and then we finally get Dragon Age 4, and they're like, oh wait, I have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the story of Xbox in this next gen. Is just we're feeling it now, where we just discover
EA
things.
Play is a little different in that you don't get all of their games. You
Correct.
basically get a back catalog,
Yeah.
and then you get special perks or early
early,
access for newer
yeah.
games. Yeah.
But a good, potentially good time to invest when you don't even have to do it or realize you're doing it. It just
Yeah.
you just flip a switch. It just happens.
I
So-
wonder if they will continue to expand this, right, as their audience grows in the way that Netflix did. Hey, I wonder if they'll make you play a part of Game Pass at some point. Doesn't seem impossible.
Doesn't seem impossible at this point.
Do you play include games? Is it just
I think it's just
what is
weird
it called?
club
What is it?
stuff.
Ubisoft Now? I was saying it there.
No, it's Uplay.
Is it?
Well, you plays their
Uplay's
weird dumb
the
club
client.
thing.
What is the
Oh.
name of the?
Yeah, I don't know.
I can hear people in the audience
Yeah.
in the future just yelling.
No,
Steep
Uplay
fans are like,
Plus
oh
is
come
what
on,
it's
Uplay
called.
Plus.
Uplay
thank you.
Plus.
Uplay
Easy to
Plus.
forget.
Uplay Plus. That's weird. Uplay Plus.
Yeah, that's not a nice name.
It's not
Yeah.
a good thing to say out loud.
Plus.
I wonder, did Microsoft call everybody? Did EA just finally jump
Oh,
at the
dude.
offer?
Yeah.
And Microsoft
Yeah.
just keeps nagging people.
Shaking a lot of hands.
Ubisoft's like, we're busy right now.
Yeah. Sure.
We're having a couple of bad months. We'll talk to you in October.
Yeah, boring conversation anyway.
Also this week, I'm going to run through a series of headlines that I feel are somewhat important, but we're going to get through them as fast as possible so we can wrap up this podcast in a timely manner. PAX Online starts this weekend. Verbatim from Blood in Slack, the next generation edition of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt will be available as a standalone purchase on PC, Xbox Series X, and PlayStation 5, and is a free update for current owners of the game on PC, Xbox One, or PlayStation 4.
Nice.
Twitch Sings shutting down on January 1st. We failed, Ian.
We never got around
We
to it.
sure
Well,
did
we
a whole heck
could.
of not. Yeah, we got time.
We still
won't.
could.
A Shenmue anime announced as a Crunchyroll and Adult Swim production. Yep.
Crazy.
We get about one a month at this rate, and so it's exciting.
Yep.
From Matt Piscatella, like we mentioned earlier, 72% of Steam survey participants run 1920 by 1080. Only 2%, around 2%, are playing at 4K. Just interesting to note. And again, these are just Steam people and people on Steam, and there are lots of other fun stats. This is a report that Steam put up, but Piscatella is always good at picking out the interesting points. Crash Bandicoot demo coming out on September 16th.
Yeah.
Woo! Dirt 5 delayed from October 9th to November 5th.
Oh yeah, that was interesting. It was like, let's just make this a next-gen game and not worry about shipping it twice.
We're seeing lots of release dates kind of, okay, they announced it? All right, well, we actually would love it if you'd play our game on that day when all those consoles come out. Speaking of 4K, Nintendo has apparently asked developers to make Switch games, quote, 4K ready.
Yeah, that's a juicy rumor. Let's make sure that people know
That's a rumor.
not confirmed.
The most juicy.
Apparently. But that would be fun. Well, I mean, it also lines up with rumors of 2021 being the year most likely we will get some sort of new Switch, whether that is what form that takes.
Please, new Switch.
Please.
I'd buy it.
Super Mario 3D All-Stars was getting a lot of heat last week, but is currently the second biggest selling game of 2020 on Amazon's U.S. storefront.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh shit, I gotta buy it.
Yeah.
Complain about that price all you want.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's that's kind of the boomerang of Nintendo news. It's just like, how dare they? And about it.
Yeah.
No More Heroes 3 has been delayed to 2021. The notice / tweet on this was directly from Suda51. Very apologetic, very personal. Definitely a look into the struggles that a lot of devs are facing right now and trying to get their stuff done.
I thought to myself, I was like, what if he says this and he just releases it tomorrow? Like that just seems like a very Suda51 thing to do.
Yeah, very crazy.
Like, I'm very sorry about the delay, and then it just appears on the stuff.
Yeah.
And then like 2 weeks later, he says like, again, we're still on developing it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We're
We're doing well. Thanks to everyone who reviewed it, but hopefully we'll get into your hands soon.
I want Suda to come out and reveal, just how he's had like these quick cameos in places you don't expect him throughout the summer and all these different events. I want him to come out and reveal that there's like 30 more of those cameos that you just didn't catch.
Haven't
They're like
noticed.
1 or 2 frames somewhere, or in one of your favorite games.
He's in RE8.
Yeah.
That was his face in Hunt Down. That swipe of the hockey stick.
Oh, I never freeze frame that. I gotta go find that sucker.
Oh yeah,
Maybe
we
find a
gotta
screen.
figure out who it is.
Some excellent and creepy and
I think it's
d-
pixel
blink
art
and
of
you
Jack
blink and you'll miss
Nicholson,
it.
but who knows?
Oh, okay. Some
That's my
blink and you'll
guess,
miss it
but I don't
pixel
know.
art in there. Several unreleased Game Boy games were revealed in another chunky Nintendo leak, which is
Interesting.
always
I didn't
fun.
see that.
Yeah, lots more stuff in there. I won't go through specific titles and stuff, but some fun, weird stuff that never happened. GameStop plans to close another 400 to 450 stores this fiscal year. Shocking.
Ouch.
People got to look at Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War's multiplayer. Again, not going to go into specific modes and stuff outside of a 40-player fire team mode, and all of the sentiment seems to be pretty jolly. Not something that we really blew out here at Easy Alex. Did not do a lot of coverage about that announcement, but that was happening this last week. Gaming historian Kurt Vendel, founder of the Atari Museum, passed away unexpectedly at 53. That's all we know. It was unexpectedly just passed at a too soon, as far as I'm concerned. Someone got Doom running on a pregnancy test screen.
Oh yeah, I actually follow this guy. I've been following him a couple weeks. He does a lot of really cool and informative teardowns, and people asked him to tear down a pregnancy test, and he did that, and then he just started going to town experimenting with it. So it's not really running on the pregnancy test, but he's using the screen and the resolution of the screen to basically run a video of Doom.
It's something to look at on the internet for sure. And you can now play as a deer in Red Dead Online.
That's like the first thing that Red Dead Online has announced where I'm like, really?
And maybe more animals in the future.
Maybe more. It is time for Love and Respect.
Love and respect.
I gotta get the right tone for this one. Hold on. Friends, I have a serious problem. I'm too good at Tony Hawk. I used to think I was only good among friends and family, but I am in the top 30 on the PS4 competitive leaderboards and regularly pull off multi-million point combos.
Not number one.
Have you ever been so good at a video game where people don't want to play with you because they know you'll win? In the online multiplayer age, has your love of a multiplayer game ever significantly eaten into your single-player game time? I want to play Wasteland 3, but I'm too enamored with Tony Hawk's glorious return. And frankly, too good, says Jason Wojnar. Anything you're just too darn good at.
Say, like, just the tone that you use, I thought you were going to say, like, from Kyle Bossman.
Yeah. Kyle's not that good at Tony Hawk, come on. I know that there's definitely some fighting game tournaments that we were just like, because you were like reviewing it, Ben, and it was just like, that might not.
When I was
be prudent.
Young, this was in the GoldenEye age, and I think both you and Huber would blow me out of the water in GoldenEye now, and I think you have. But I invited a neighbor kid over to play GoldenEye, and it was just like 40-2, and it was bad, and he like was not having a good time, and that didn't feel good. I don't know if there's any like online game that I've been.
Well, the experience I always have is like, I think I'm pretty good at something, like Puyo Puyo Tetris or something. Like all my friends and family, I beat them most of the time, you know, and then I go online, like we did that one stream, and like a pro person comes in and just like mops the floor with us in ways that we don't even comprehend, and it's just like, oh, okay, yeah.
It's a feeling.
At a point in my life, I was super good at Team Fortress 2, and I mean, I played online, obviously, and I'd wipe the floor with people on it. Like, I never did a tournament or anything, so I don't know against actual pros, but I was very good at that game at a point. But I probably suck.
I was good at Counter-Strike once, because I spent, like...
Just one time?
So much time. Well, it was like in high school specifically, I was very good at it. And, you know, when I play it now, it's like, no, like, it was not even close to that level I used to be at.
A story I recall from Game Trailers that was really great. Brent Phillips, who built EasyAllies.com, and his friend Ryan Kramer, the two of them worked together building tech stuff for Game Trailers for many years. Both insanely enamored with Super Smash Brothers Melee. And they played all the time. They had a GameCube in their office. Apparently in college, like they were like the best amongst their friends. I can't remember what the game was. I think it was Arkham Asylum. We had an extra copy of a game, and we were just like, hey, anybody want to play Arkham Asylum? And both Ryan and Brent were like, huh? And they looked at each other. They're like, settle it and smash. And they went into their office. And Brent Phillips walked out with Arkham Asylum, took it home over the weekend. Settling it in smash feels good.
Man, Ian, speaking of games that like you're good at or were good at amongst your friends growing up, and then like being exposed to the broader world. Like, among my friends growing up, I was pretty good at Smash. Like playing people now, it's like I'm
people are
miserably
crazy.
bad at Smash. Yeah.
Well, I had that experience with Game Trailers with basically just fighting games in general, where, you know, it's like I always had those friends that, you know, we'd go over to each other's houses and play Street Fighter or Killer Instinct or whatever on consoles. And, you know, and then I had a while where I just, like, I didn't have that many friends to play with. I had roommates and stuff that I would play casually, but nobody that was really into it, you know. And so, yeah, it's just kind of that thing where it's like, you're sort of playing, but, you know, you're taking it easy so people don't have a bad time. And then, yeah, I get the Game Trailers, and, like, Rich Brown or Justin Spear, they would just unapologetically just destroy me in like 7 seconds, and I don't know what I'm doing.
Just
I have
juggle
no
you
idea
the whole time.
how to deal with you.
I miss having like Justin and Patrick around to play fighting games with and learn from, but also I miss them playing each other.
Yeah,
they would get so salty.
They would get so salty. One time I went to Game Dude, I think, with Patrick, and he just casually put in a quarter in, I think, what is it, Street Fighter Street Fighter 3?
Well, at Game Dude, it's Third Strike. They have a Third Strike.
Yeah, Third Strike. Yeah, yeah.
It's just, I don't think it may not be working now.
But yeah, he just put in one quarter and beat the entire arcade campaign.
Nice.
I just stood there and watched him, and I was like, oh, okay.
The question is, who did he play?
I can't remember who he was. Yeah, it might have been Ryu.
We'll fill it in next week.
Yeah,
As-
so
what did it say?
the closest I ever get to anything like that is just with racing games. I remember, Jones, you got real salty when we did our little
Oh my God.
drive across the crew too.
We were gonna do one. It was seriously. It was like an invitational. You know what I mean? It was like the fight in Rocky IV where where like Apollo was fighting Drago. It's like this is just for the fans, man. Just calm down. I was like, we're just gonna drive from A to B. I will be conversing with chat because I'm hosting the stream. All I need for you is just to drive casual. We start the stream, blood gone, and like I got booted out because I was too far from.
Yeah,
blood.
that was upsetting.
It's like,
'Cause
do you
that
ever have
was
a
like
friend-
an hour-long race and
Yeah.
like, oh, because I crossed the finish line, you have 2 minutes to get where I am. You're like 20 minutes behind.
Do you ever have a friend who's like, you're like, how do I get, I mean, it doesn't happen now because we've got GPS in our phones, but it's just like, hey, how do I get there? It's like, just follow me. And then they just go like through a red light. And you're like, dude, like.
Yeah.
Flip side of that, though, if you're following somebody, you gotta keep up.
This is
like,
true.
I've had people follow me who drive like below the speed limit, and I, don't do
No
that.
patience. No patience.
Well, if the person behind you is driving appropriate, still don't run that red light.
Well,
Right,
you
yeah, I just
stop.
mean-
You always play it
Hubert.
safe at a light. You always stop
yeah.
early at a light when you have someone following you.
Huber races, it's a different thing.
Now I'm in a fighting game mood.
Ooh.
Let's go.
All right. Well,
All right.
podcast's almost over. You got a couple minutes, and then take your pick. Let's play a game from Alexander Zarianov. Hello, allies. Want to
Hi.
play a game? Then let's test your knowledge of gaming engines. You'll hear a game studio's name,
boy.
and you must respond with the engine's name that is created and used by this studio. For example, if you hear Crytek, the answer is...
Crying.
Cryengine.
Yay! So you know how it goes.
CryEngine.
We got 15 of these suckers. Here we go. Some of them are extremely easy, but let's do it. id Software.
IdTech.
Nice.
Nice.
One for Ben. Dice.
Oh, Frostbite?
Frostbite. Yeah. Frostbite.
Nice.
Of course.
Guerrilla Games.
Real
no.
Engine?
Decima.
Decima.
Blood got that one. Nice. Valve.
Source.
Source.
Nice.
Yeah.
It takes 2 seconds, and then literally everybody. It's funny when like it's in your brain. You're like, well, I don't have to search for. I don't have to like really think about it hard. It's just it takes at least 2 seconds. Massive Entertainment.
Oh.
Snowdrop?
Yes, Blood.
Holy crap,
What?
Bloodworth.
Wow.
Had no idea.
Yeah, what?
No idea.
That's Division.
Oh.
Nice. Yep. 4A games.
Oh, what is it called?
I don't
Yeah.
even know what they make.
This is
It's
Metro.
not. It's not
Metro.
tricky. It's not tricky at all.
4A
4A?
engine.
There it is.
Oh, gosh.
Nice and simple.
CD Projekt Red.
I don't know, actually.
Witcher Engine.
Oh, what is it called?
What is it called?
Not quite as easy as 4A games, but close to being that easy.
Red.
Oh, Red Engine.
Red
Red
Engine.
engine. That's right. Yeah.
Brad got that.
Arcane Studios.
Oh, shit.
Oh, Arcane.
Ooh.
I know.
The engine making Deathloop. What's it
I
called?
can picture it coming.
What's it called?
I don't know
I
that
don't
one.
know.
The WoW expansion was called Legacy of the... Oh, no, that was StarCraft. Sorry.
Void?
Void Engine.
Void.
Yeah, I know that one.
Wasn't there a
I
Void
was like-
expansion to WoW?
A
Was there a
Void
Void of
expansion?
something?
No.
Something called
No.
Void? All right.
You made my brain stop.
Yep. I did. Mission accomplished. Bethesda Game Studios.
Broken.
Bethesda Engine?
I'll allow it, Ben. Nope, it's the broken engine.
ZeniMax Studio.
Gamebryo?
Ironically called the Creation Engine.
Creation.
Ah.
Engine. Okay.
Remedy Entertainment.
Torchlight. Touchlight. Northlight.
Yeah!
There you
Wow.
go.
Northlight Storytelling Engine.
Yeah.
Rockstar. I wouldn't have gotten this right. I recall it now that I see it, but
Rockstar engine.
yeah. Rage, the Rockstar Advanced Game Engine. Rage.
Wow.
Rage.
Ubisoft Montreal. A deep cut.
Oh, I don't know.
Anvil Next, one word.
Oh, Anvil. Yep.
Techland,
Also broken.
who's currently working on what? Yeah, what is...
Dying Light, right?
Oh, that's still Techland. That's right. Okay, yeah, Dying Light 2.
I don't know this one.
Chrome Engine.
Mm-mm. Didn't know.
343 Industries.
I should know this. I don't.
Yeah, some of these engines having problems. Slip Space Engine.
Yeah, no.
And finally, it's a race. It's a race to see who gets it first. Epic Games.
Unreal.
There it
Unreal.
is. Hey, we're my man! You knew it was Unreal, didn't you, Ben?
I mean,
Yeah.
I just assumed.
I was waiting for Luminous Engine or something.
Yeah, Luminous definitely popped
Luminous.
up in my head, too.
Crystal Engine.
Shout out to Cody S., who has worked to get this
Lumberyard.
in the podcast. Cody S. has made efforts to get this in many occasions. And I'm finally gonna throw it at you. I got Ben on here. I'm curious about Ben's take. Hello, allies. I've been a big fan since the GT days, and you and the folks over at Critical Role are probably my favorite groups of people to watch on the internet. So in honor of my two loves, D&D and video games, I thought, you see what that happened, Hall of Greats fans? D&D and video games. I thought of a game to bring together the fun of dice
gotta
rolling
go.
and video games.
I will
list. Yeah, is your camera bugging again? I will list two games, and you tell me which one you would rather play with the added game feature of a random dice rolling mechanic, like that of the upcoming Baldur's Gate 3, that affects the outcome of important story or gameplay moments. Love and respect, Cody. Number one,
XCOM.
The Last of Us or Yakuza 0.
Yakuza.
In Last of Us, I feel like it would be tragic. In Yakuza, I feel like it could be tragic or hilarious.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
It'd be hilarious in
So-
Yakuza, yeah.
Would I die more in a regular playthrough of Last of Us or less? Hard to tell.
Yeah. Yakuza.
Literally, the shotgun's going off like right near your face, and it's just like, wow, you're out. Detroit Become Human or Life is Strange?
Well, I don't want to play Detroit, so
Yeah, I don't
Life
want
is
to
Strange.
play it at all.
Detroit, I think I
Although-
would go with.
I never played it.
A David Cage game with insane random stuff happening would be, well, just a normal David Cage game, I guess.
Well, it'd
but-
probably be more coherent.
yeah.
Detroit has way more branches and in like really crazy ways. So yeah, I think that
Oh,
would
okay.
make
That's a
more
good
sense
point.
to me. Yeah.
Mass Effect or Dragon Age? I'll say the first one. The first Dragon Age or the first Mass Effect.
Sure.
Feel like we're cutting from the same cloth here.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Dude, I always want to say that phrase and can never memorize it. I got to put it on a flashcard or something. And really, I'm like 6/4 of 8 and 2/8 of the
6 of
barn
one
in the bush.
and half dozen of another, which is also 6.
Right. Still not going to get it. Mortal Kombat 11 or Fall Guys?
Fall Guys already
Guys
feels
already
like it
has
has
it,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
All guys already feels
Yeah. you imagine one mode's like rolling 20s. And you're like, I hate this mode.
Yeah.
This mode's the worst.
Mortal Kombat would be funny.
Sure.
The Resident Evil franchise or the Metal Gear franchise?
Metal Gear for sure.
Metal Gear.
Yeah, Metal Gear.
Did-
Things
did
could
they
get
see
pretty
you?
weird.
Yeah.
The Legend of Zelda franchise or the Final Fantasy franchise?
Final Fantasy.
Final
Yeah, probably
Fantasy.
Final
Although I mean,
Fantasy.
it kind of has to an extent,
A little bit.
depending on the game. Yeah.
There's definitely stuff going on under the hood. And Cody would like to know if there's any other franchises you can think of that might be a little silly, might be fun, possibly better, or more amusing.
Well,
With D&D
randomizers.
dice rolls.
Randomizers in like Souls games are very popular. Those look like fun.
Mhm.
So anything that can do that sort of stuff. But I like the idea of them using it for story stuff. Anything that would be like surprising, weird story turns that could be
Yeah.
funny. Like a Yakuza game, I think is the perfect example because like just some random guy bursting through the wall and being like, "Your car's on fire" or something is like, you know.
I guess
Yeah.
you could kind of say the same thing about Zelda, going back to that example that he gave, but I would love it in Mario, right? Because in Mario, it's like, okay, you're always saving Peach, you're always fighting Bowser. I would love to have variation where it's like, Peach is dead, bro. Like,
Peach is dead, bro.
Sorry, dude.
Luigi with his hand on Mario's shoulder.
Sorry, brother.
No, I said XCOM at the beginning because I feel like a dice roll might actually work more in your favor than
Yeah.
the percentages that are already there.
How would you know? It's like
Those
Folger's Coffee,
percentages
the old
are
ads. It's
lie.
like, we've replaced his XCOM gameplay with dice rolls. Let's see if he can tell. One that shouldn't take too long, that I definitely want to throw in, from Andrew Traharan. Hey everyone, this week marked the launch of Sid Meier's memoir, titled Sid Meier's Memoir, A Life in Computer Games. In it, he goes in depth talking about his career and the many franchises he spawned. Civilization, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Pirates, pirates with an
Yep.
exclamation point. I remember
Yeah.
being one. I was like, oh, Sid Meier made that too, because he loves to put his name on stuff. It made me realize just how few books there are about the gaming industry, and especially coming from those within it. Imagine how successful a memoir from Shigeru Miyamoto could be. I know Jason Schreier has a book, but I wonder if you guys have any books about gaming that you could recommend, or if there are any industry execs you'd like a book from. Specifically, I would love this second question. I can totally see Reggie writing one. Thanks for the continued stream of great content these past few months, Andrew. I could see Ed Boon writing a killer book, even just like metal dragon fiction. It doesn't even have to be a memoir,
sure.
you know. Like I just want Ed Boon to go nuts.
When I was in college and I was interested in writing about games, there was a book about writing about games, and I can't remember who wrote it, but I read it and it was very informative, and it said something in there that is kind of always stuck with me, where he's like, anytime you're evaluating a game, just like shut off the television and think about how this came from nothing. And I was just like, oh, that's like a super appreciative way to go into a critique, and I liked that mindset.
That was an excellent point, Ben. I was not laughing at you. We just got Omar
okay. It was
podcast
funny.
bombed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a blank living room we're looking at where Ian is supposedly running around on the roof of his apartment complex. I don't know, but Omar's there and cannot be stopped. Yeah, Ed Boon would be fun. Obviously, there's all sorts of fun little nuggets we get from the father of Final Fantasy, the Gooch.
Sakaguchi.
Sakaguchi, yeah, it'd be fun for just get a concise report on all of the stuff he did on that series.
Oh man,
Yeah, I know.
so many Japanese developers I'd want info about.
The story of Castlevania,
like,
is a huge
Fumio
one.
Ueda, like I want Ueda books so bad. Just him talking about like him going through designs, like even like Nomura talking about working on Final Fantasy or something like that. Versus 13, be fascinating.
It feels so closed off in a
Yeah, it's not from a developer, but I know Chris Kohler's done a book on, I believe it was Final Fantasy V. And then the publisher of that, they have a whole series of them that they have from different authors. So I would check that out if you're into those kinds of things.
Yeah, there is a book series where they do bring in like one-off celebrity authors to just work. I remember Alexa Korea did the one on Kingdom Hearts, and the cover is literally just a lollipop, and it's just like her take on the whole series. And so yeah, it's interesting seeing people come in. They're like, "Hey, look at that! I wrote a book just in this one series."
Kojima, he's got to come in and just ruthlessly spill the tea.
But it would be like House of Leaves. You wouldn't. It's like you'd finish. You're like,
Right,
"Oh, did you read
right.
Kojima's book?" Like, yeah, it's like. Did he
think
ever
I
like
read
get
it.
into his games? Like he might have. I don't know. Like that part with the desert, that might have been him talking about Metal Gear. He didn't ever say Metal Gear in the
It's all
book.
metal.
But
Kojima's
or
book would
metaphors.
it would just be a memoir about his experience with time travel. And we would learn, how he's been able to predict all these things for all these years.
right.
Kojima
And it's
needs
all
to
written-
make a book about Konami, and then somebody needs to make a book about Kojima, right? Like there has to be multiple sides of
And then Kojima would do a book about them.
right.
What I really want is the book to take the form of a series of correspondences between best friends Kojima and Jeff Keighley. And like a Dracula or something, where the whole book is just
dude.
letters written to each other.
A one-act play.
Yeah.
Ian. A one-act play. The two of them in a room just hashing it out,
Yes.
talking about old times.
My love.
Yeah.
I'm
Or
not
you
going to
just
make
read,
it to Game
or you
Awards
just
this year.
get some through a wall, Pyramus and Thisbe, just through the crack in the wall. Or you just read some weird sci-fi book, and at the end you're like, oh, it was a Keighley memoir all along, or it was a Kojima memoir. I didn't know. Could you have a Keighley without a Kojima memoir?
Well,
They would be
Guillermo
together.
and Norman Reedus and Keighley, they would all have guest spots in the book.
Norman Reedus doing well, getting his own Walking Dead show. That guy, good for him.
I would love an extra casual Kojima book where he's just like, yeah, I don't know, I just made it up as I went along. Really, no grand plan.
Yeah. It's just his Twitter account on paper.
Yeah.
It is time for bets. Next week's bet. Spelunky 2 launches on September 15th. How long will its launch trailer be? If there's no launch trailer, lowest score wins. So I advised... We don't need your camera, it's fine, Ian.
I broke my camera.
I advised
Oh, no.
these panelists and my fellow team member, Daniel Bloodworth, that the 3 trailers for Spelunky 2 right now, there is an announcement, there was an announcement at PGW 2017, then a gameplay trailer, then a release date reveal trailer. All of these are on Sony's channel. Sony loves talking about Spelunky 2, and Sony also loves launch trailers, but there's not a launch trailer yet. So if there is not a launch trailer by this time next week when we record the podcast, the lowest TRT will win. What is yours, Ian?
1 minute and 12 seconds.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh.
Ben Moore.
1 minute, 40 seconds.
Ah, Brad Ellis.
30 seconds.
Damn it. Bloodworth.
1 minute and 4 seconds.
Okay,
Damn it.
okay. Just underneath Ian with 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Ooh, Ian's got the
So
high.
we will see.
Oh, wait, I
Yeah.
do?
No, I have
No,
that.
Ben has
Oh,
No,
the
Ben is the high
1
at
minute
140,
and
yeah.
Well, the other team
I've
has
got
the
a
high
very
either way.
strange little weird. We've got
Yeah.
the low and the high, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's 1 minute though, we win. So we'll see. We'll see how long that. I just remember the last time I did a launch trailer thing, I got burnt. It was short. They were small. I'm like 1.5 is always just a good average, but we shall see. Last week's bet, which I get to check live right now, Borderlands Psycho Krieg at the fantastic Fuster Cluck launched this week. When we record this episode, how many likes will the latest tweet have on the Borderlands account? I bet 1,800. Daniel Bloodworth bet 888. Ben Moore bet 963. Michael Damiani bet 5,000. Big Borderlands fan, that Damiani. And Ian Hink bet 712. Refresh and scroll. The latest tweet from Borderlands. Note to Xbox players, we have pushed an update to address reports that Season Pass holders couldn't access the DLC. This change may take up to 30 minutes to appear. Please retry your download then. We apologize for the inconvenience. Probably not a lot of likes going to get on that one, are there?
No.
The amount of likes on that tweet, 621. Ian Hink is the closest. Ian Hink wins.
Oh.
Ian Hink had the low.
Got him.
Damn it.
What was Ian's?
712.
I wasn't
yeah.
quite
Less than
as
100
far
away.
off as I feared, but
Yeah. Push and update tweets. You hate to see it. Bringing our scores to Jovial Penguins, 12.
Appetite for destruction, contempt for the czars of fashion. Wait, don't tell me. Naked sexual charisma.
Astonished Scorpions, 8. Astonished, we're 4 points behind. That's why I'm astonished.
I never hear our score because I'm doing these dumbass quotes.
It's okay. You're competitive, but, you know, I'm not impressed. I'm just sad. Let me tell you about patreon.com/easyallies. It is where you can go to get a lot of things from the Easy Allies for a monetary exchange. We have all sorts of goals and tiers. For $5, you get a bunch of stuff early. You get this podcast early, and you can be involved in Love and Respect. And you can be a part of Silver Lining, which is our nice little sentiment, hopefully kicking off the podcast. And every now and then, I like to drop a little quote, as I've done for Brandon K. Gann and others, where people like to comment on the stories that we are very likely to talk about in any given week. Patreon.com/EasyAllies is also where you just find out a lot of information about us. Ben Moore, who is on this podcast, does a D&D session with a specific group every single month. Once a month, right?
that's right. Well, no, it's actually twice a month. We do
twice
twice
a
a
month.
month. Yeah.
So these people are Ben has been taking this crew on an adventure through the shadows of Easy Allies for such a long time, yeah, I love the concept of animating D&D sessions, as crazy expensive as it is. We had a showcase post this month, another tier, $10, patreon.com/easyallies, where somebody animated something that I think was 12 seconds, and it just showed all the different steps of how they did it. So. But I would love, if all of that was animated, if we could go back and live through all of those adventures that you have been on with those lovely patrons. I've been on an emotional journey with the patrons at our shout-out tier, $250. 3 people at that tier now. If you want to jump
4.
in, you can do
Did
4.
we get the 4th?
Oh, do we have some? No!
I put that correction in there. That's
It's on the bottom of easyallies.com
Uh-oh.
if you need it.
Well,
fast.
I missed it. Do you want to mention the last one, or do you just want to tell me? You say it right now, it'll kind of spoil the whole thing. Do you want to say the last one, or do you want to say? Should we say it
well,
first?
just as Ian
If
said, you can
Slack
just scroll
open,
down
I
to
Do
the
you
bottom.
have it on
Give it to
hand? I
I
don't
have it.
Slack open.
Yeah.
You just
I
gonna
have
Slack
'em.
it to me right now. You popped it to me.
Slack it to me.
Pop it.
I've been slacked. Ah. Oh, nice. Okay. All right. I can deal with this. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to shout out these 4 wonderful people. Ian, you're going to go first. I'm going after you. Brad, you are going after me. Blood, you're going after Brad. And Ben, you are last but not least. Shout out to L. Thanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, Caleb Togi Crawford, and Jeff Zio VGM Easton.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Out. Woohoo! All right. Ian, I regret to inform me that you have won this podcast. You get to promote any Easy Allies video you'd like to promote. You get the final word on anything you've disagreed with, want to reiterate, or just popped into your head, and you get to sign off with your trademark sign-off.
Video to recommend. We've got 3 I want to recommend, but I'll do the. Well, there's that Bloodworth. Bloodworth was flapping his wings.
Good sign language there.
So I could just say Bloodworth was flapping his wings,
Right.
and not actually plug that one. In a very roundabout Nicolas Cage type way, I could bring up our dramatic whispering from Opinion ASMR from last week. Opinion Yell is back, and it's quieter than ever. In our Opinion ASMR, Sony PlayStation 5 versus the Xbox Series X. We didn't even know about the S at that point. Or there would have been a lot of hissing, probably. We would have been like...
Even when we do like reactions and podcasts and stuff like that, like we're all in different wavelengths. You know, we're a mix. We're a gumbo. You know, like we're different people. But it's like when we do Opinion Yell and Opinion ASMR, like we're one. Like I feel like we all come together. We're all on the same wavelength. It's a beautiful thing.
Except for I was thinking about this back in the day when we were still in the studio, which we shall return to someday. But I would always do my like host stuff at the end, and I would always push it like too far. And looking at all of your faces after like one of the things I would scream, like I would get like actually angry. All of you would always just be like,
You couldn't see my face because I was often looking at the floor.
Yeah.
It's just like, whoa.
Awesome. I missed that. Final word, Black Lives Matter. And my sign off, good night and good game.
Dude, people spent $60 on Knack, man.
I gotta go.